Here are some Eastenders storylines I would introduce if I was a producer on Eastenders. So first up, a gambling storyline. I'm sure Eastenders have done a gambling storyline before. Can't think off the top of my head who. I think someone like Jay or a young character. I feel like an older character is too obvious, or too classic, if that makes sense. So we do a gambling storyline, but with a gambling ring, and a character goes missing because they owe people money. So we've got this missing element storyline to it as well, and then somebody has to expose the gambling ring. But then it also means do they expose it and risk this gambling ring coming after them and things like that. So that's one storyline that I would do. I would then do another grooming storyline, but I would do it about digital exploitation. I don't know if EastEnders have done that yet. But I would do that. I think that's like the next level of a grooming storyline for EastEnders. Obviously, they've done it before, but they haven't done a digital exploitation. I don't think. If they have, please correct me. I'm sure you will anyway. But I think again, I think a young character for this type of storyline, obviously because it's grooming and things like that. I think older people can be groomed, but it's more, I'd say, vulnerable people. That could be another storyline actually, like grooming a vulnerable older person. That could be another storyline actually. In terms of characters for the younger ones, I'd probably say someone like Amy or Lily. Or I actually thought they were going to go down that route when we didn't know who the baby father was of baby Charlie. I thought that's what the route we were going down. I was like, whoa, but they didn't do that, so they could do that now. I think that'd be an interesting storyline. Another storyline that I would consider introducing in the modern age is someone like Stacey, or someone who's got it probably would have to be Stacey, I imagine. But so basically, the NHS and resources are lacking in terms of medication. So, for example, resources for like bipolar medication or ADHD medication, and how that has an effect on people's health. Like if you've got bipolar and you can't get your medication because they can't get the medication wherever they get it from, what detriment does that have on your mental health and your condition? I think that'd be a really interesting storyline to explore. And then another storyline that I would do is counterfeit vapes. So the Minute Mark can sell vapes. They probably do sell vapes. Again, this is a young character storyline, which is really interesting because if you know me, and we've talked about EastEnders before, or if you've been on my live streams, you'll know that I really don't like the young characters on EastEnders. Not in a horrible way. Like the actors are great. The young characters just bore me. Like they're not interesting enough for me. Like I like the characters. If it's not that they're young or anything. Like I think young characters can really do great storylines. It's just they're not. That's what I mean. They don't have great storylines. I liked Amy's self harm storyline. That was really good, but they didn't really. They did explore it, but they didn't explore it enough. I don't think personally. I think it's sort of been forgotten. I really wish they'd revisit that. Um, but think back to 2012 and E20 and things like that, like that sort of young character vibe. I mean, to be fair, they were a bit older, so. But with this storyline, I would basically do counterfeit vapes that cause hospitalization, which we've seen in the news. And this would highlight how the dangers of vaping really. And I think EastEnders should do that because who is doing that? No one's doing that. No one's doing that as a storyline. So it would highlight a real issue in young people. I would then do something with the community centre, do a food poverty type storyline. This wouldn't be like a major storyline. This would be like a small storyline that sort of weaves throughout, but something to do with food poverty, like to highlight that, and food banks. I think they should do that. I think they've sort of touched on it with the Yolande, I think, potentially. But that's something I would introduce. And then a storyline that I would, and then I would introduce a new family. It's an English Bengali, I can't even speak. It'd be like an English Bengali type family, so a South Asian family, and they went through a cryptocurrency scam because I think that's something that is a sort of modern issue that hasn't been talked about. But this would be like the catalyst to basically explore mental health in South Asian communities. I feel like they could do this already with a character like Vinny. I feel like they could do a mental health storyline with an Asian character. So I think Vinny could be a really great way to introduce the storyline. Obviously, they wouldn't do the cryptocurrency scam part. That's just the backstory that brings the characters into the world. That brings them to Wolford. Basically, they lose everything. She's the mum's divorced, and they get involved in this cryptocurrency scam, and then they have to like leave wherever they are, and they come to Wolford because basically the cryptocurrency scam would lead to her divorce, which then brings them to Wolford, and then all of this unraveling and stuff would then lead to the diagnosis of the mental health in the son. So the mum would be Zara, and she's divorced, single mother, and she's like a driven businesswoman, bit like Suki. Then you've got Amir, who is a university student, who is the one who will be struggling with their mental health. Then you've got the daughter, who's like trying to aspire to be a social media influencer because that's modern. And then you've got Dada Kamal, who is the grandfather, and he's trying to adopt to British life. So I think it's an interesting family dynamic. You've got mum, her two kids, and the grandfather. And basically, it just highlights mental health stigma in South Asian communities. Um, and yeah, so that brings them all to Walford, and then the mental health storyline, and also Zara's trying to rebuild her life, and then the daughter, being this social media influencer, ends up bringing trouble through promoting controversial products on social media. So that's what I would do if I was an EastEnders producer. They don't. Some of them are original ideas, some of them are things that have been done before. But yeah, that's what I would do. I think. I've got other ideas, but that's sort of where I'm at right now. So let me know if you'd watch that.